You believe your success should earn admiration. You think your discipline, your growth, your quiet victories should inspire others to respect you, maybe even support you. But you misunderstand something fundamental about human nature, something that Niccolò Machiavelli understood centuries ago. Success does not unite people, it divides them. Watch closely. The moment you begin to rise, whether it's in status, confidence, skill, or recognition, you will notice a subtle shift. It won't be obvious at first. No one will confront you. No one will openly challenge you. Instead, it will appear in small, almost invisible ways. A delayed reply, a forced smile, a compliment that feels slightly off. Because your success does something dangerous. It forces others to look at themselves, and most people are not prepared for that reflection. When someone sees you improving, achieving, evolving, they are not just observing your progress. They are measuring themselves against it. Your discipline highlights their laziness. Your courage exposes their fear. Your consistency reminds them of every promise they broke to themselves. You become a mirror, and not everyone likes what they see in it. So, what do? Do they admit it? Do they come to you and say, "Your success makes me feel inadequate"? No, human ego does not allow such honesty. Instead, the mind protects itself. It twists the narrative. It creates subtle justifications. They tell themselves you got lucky. They assume you had advantages. They downplay your effort. They search for flaws in your character, because if they can diminish you, they can protect their own self-image. And this is where silent hatred is born. It is not loud. It does not scream. It whispers. It grows in the background. It hides behind politeness. They will still talk to you. They will still smile. But internally, something has shifted. You are no longer equal in their eyes. You are a threat, because your existence challenges their comfort. Understand this clearly. Most people do not hate your success itself. They hate what your success represents. It represents discipline they didn't maintain, risks they were too afraid to take, potential they abandoned. And every time they see you, they are reminded of it. This is why, ironically, the more you achieve, the fewer people genuinely celebrate you. At the beginning of your journey, when you were struggling, people felt safe around you. You were relatable, non-threatening. Your failures made them comfortable. But once you cross a certain line, that comfort disappears. Now you are no longer one of them. You are ahead, and distance creates tension. This tension manifests in subtle behaviors. People may stop supporting you publicly. They may avoid mentioning your achievements. They may even distance themselves without explanation. Not because you changed, but because your growth forced them to confront what they chose not to become. And here lies the dangerous mistake most people make. They try to fix this by shrinking themselves. They downplay their achievements. They hide their progress. They act smaller, quieter, less confident, hoping to make others comfortable again. But this is a fatal error. Because when you diminish your success to protect others' insecurities, you lose both respect and power. People do not admire those who hide their strength. They sense it. And when they see you suppress it, they do not feel gratitude. They feel superiority. They think, consciously or not, that you are willing to lower yourself for acceptance. And in the silent hierarchy of human behavior, that places you beneath them. So what should you do? You do not apologize for your growth. You do not explain your success. And you certainly do not shrink to fit into spaces you have already outgrown. Instead, you understand the game being played. You recognize that envy is natural, that comparison is automatic. That silent resentment is often the price of visible progress. And rather than resisting it, you learn to navigate it. You become more controlled in what you reveal. You stop seeking validation from those who secretly compete with you. You observe reactions, not words but expressions, tone, energy, because in this world people rarely show you their true feelings directly. But they always leak them, a slight hesitation when congratulating you, a quick change of subject when your success is mentioned, a lack of enthusiasm where there should be excitement. These are not coincidences, these are signals. And once you begin to see them, you cannot unsee them. This awareness changes how you move. You become less naive, less dependent on approval. You stop expecting genuine support from everyone. And in doing so, you protect yourself from disappointment. Because the truth is harsh but simple, not everyone wants to see you win. Some will smile while hoping you fail. Some will support you only as long as you remain below them. And some will distance themselves the moment you surpass them. This is not cruelty. This is human nature, and those who understand it do not take it personally. They use it. They let their success speak, but never fully explain it. They remain composed, never arrogant, but never apologetic. They allow others to feel what they feel: envy, admiration, resentment, without trying to control it. Because control does not come from forcing others to like you. It comes from understanding why they don't. There is a silent mistake most people make without ever realizing it. They believe honesty builds respect. They believe openness creates connection. They believe that by revealing their thoughts, their plans, their emotions, they make others trust them. But what they fail to understand is this: when you reveal too much of yourself, you do not gain power. You give it away. This is a truth that Niccolò Machiavelli understood deeply. Power does not belong to the one who speaks the most. It belongs to the one who controls what is known and what remains hidden. Observe how people behave in everyday life. Most cannot tolerate silence. They rush to fill it. They explain themselves unnecessarily. They share their goals too early. They expose their fears without caution. And in doing so, they unknowingly hand others a blueprint of their mind. Once someone understands your patterns, your weaknesses, your desires, they no longer need to guess you. And when there is nothing left to guess, there is nothing left to respect. Mystery creates distance, and distance creates authority. But when you remove that mystery, when you become fully predictable, you become easy to categorize, easy to label, easy to control. People begin to think they have you figured out. And the moment someone believes they fully understand you, something subtle happens: their curiosity dies. Their attention fades. Their respect weakens, because the human mind is drawn to what it cannot fully grasp. This is why those who speak less often appear more powerful, not because they are superior, but because they are unknown. Now consider this carefully. When you constantly express your emotions, what are you really doing? You are making your internal world available for others to analyze. Every complaint you voice, every insecurity you reveal, every frustration you share becomes data. And people store that data, consciously or unconsciously. They begin to see patterns in you. They learn what triggers you. They learn what excites you. They learn where you hesitate. And once they know these things, your behavior is no longer surprising. It becomes expected. Predictability is comfort. But it is not respect. In fact, the more predictable you are, the easier it becomes for others to dismiss you. Because they already know how you will react. They already know what you will say. You become replaceable. And here lies the deeper danger. When you reveal too much, you also invite judgment. People do not simply listen to what you say. They evaluate it. They compare it. They measure it against their own beliefs and experiences. And when they find inconsistencies, weaknesses, or contradictions, they do not always tell you. They store it. They begin to see you not as you see yourself, but as a collection of flaws they have quietly identified. This is how silent disrespect grows, not through confrontation, but through observation. You may believe you are being authentic, but to others you may simply appear unfiltered, undisciplined, exposed. And exposed individuals are rarely admired. Now, understand this clearly. This does not mean you should become cold, distant, or completely silent. That is not power, that is isolation. The real power lies in selective revelation. You choose what to show. You choose what to hide. You decide when to speak and when to remain silent, because not everything you think needs to be said. Not every plan needs to be shared. Not every emotion needs to be displayed. Restraint is not weakness. It is control. When you begin to practice this, something interesting happens. People start paying more attention to you. They listen more carefully when you speak. They analyze your words because they are not constantly available. Your silence gains weight, and with that weight comes influence. Think about the people you respect the most. The ones who hold presence without demanding it. The ones who seem calm, composed, almost unreadable. They are not constantly explaining themselves. They are not revealing every detail of their lives. They maintain a boundary between what is public and what is private. And that boundary creates intrigue, because when people cannot fully understand you, they begin to fill in the gaps themselves. They project meaning onto your actions. They assign value to your silence, and often they overestimate you. This is the advantage of controlled ambiguity. Now contrast this with someone who shares everything. Their thoughts, their struggles, their plans, their emotions, nothing is held back. At first, this may create connection. People may feel closer to them, but over time, something changes. The more you see of a person, the less there is to discover. And without discovery, interest fades. Respect is not built on how much people know about you. It is built on how they perceive what they do not know. So when you reveal too much, you strip away that perception. You remove the unknown. You make yourself ordinary in the eyes of others. And ordinary does not command attention. This is why people may begin to secretly lose interest in you. Not because you did something wrong, but because you gave them everything too easily. There was no effort required to understand you. No mystery to unravel. No depth left to explore. You became transparent. And transparency, in excess, leads to invisibility. So, the question is not whether you should be honest. The question is how much of that honesty should be visible. Because in a world where everyone is constantly speaking, constantly sharing, constantly exposing themselves, the one who chooses silence controls the narrative. There is a quiet desperation that reveals itself not through words, but through behavior. A subtle need, almost invisible at first, yet deeply felt by everyone around you. It is the need to be liked. You may not even notice it within yourself. It disguises itself as kindness, as politeness, as being a good person. You agree when you want to disagree. You laugh when something isn't funny. You say yes when every instinct in you says no. And in your mind, you believe this is the path to acceptance. But what you fail to see is this: when you try too hard to be liked, you do not gain respect, you lose it. This is not an opinion. It is a pattern, one that Niccolò Machiavelli understood long before modern psychology gave it a name. People do not admire those who seek approval. They observe them, they test them, and eventually they devalue them. Because the moment you signal that you need validation, you place yourself in a lower position. You are no longer interacting as an equal. You are negotiating for acceptance. And those who feel they are being negotiated with rarely offer genuine respect in return. Look closely at your own interactions. Think about the times you went out of your way to please someone. You adjusted your behavior, softened your opinions, maybe even changed parts of yourself just to maintain harmony. In that moment, what were you really communicating? You were saying, without words, your opinion of me matters more than my opinion of myself. And people feel that. They may not consciously analyze it, but they sense it. Human beings are highly attuned to social hierarchies. They instinctively recognize who stands firm and who bends. And when they see you bending too easily, they begin to push. Not always intentionally, not always maliciously, but naturally. They start to expect your compliance. They assume your agreement. They rely on your willingness to adjust. And over time, something subtle begins to happen. They stop valuing your presence. Because value is not created by constant availability. It is created by limitation. If you are always agreeable, always accommodating, always easy, then there is nothing to earn. And what requires no effort holds no weight. This is why those who try the hardest to be liked often feel the most overlooked. They give more, do more, tolerate more, yet receive less in return, not because people are cruel, but because people respond to signals. And the signal you are sending is clear. You are willing to sacrifice your own boundaries for approval. Now, understand this carefully. This does not mean you should become arrogant, rude, or dismissive. That is not power. That is insecurity in a different form. The real shift is internal. It is the moment you stop needing everyone to like you. Because when that need disappears, your behavior changes. You begin to speak more honestly, not aggressively, but truthfully. You stop agreeing just to avoid tension. You allow silence instead of forcing conversation. You walk away from situations that do not align with you. And suddenly something changes. People begin to treat you differently. Not because you demanded respect, but because you demonstrated self-respect. You showed that your standards are not for sale, and that creates a powerful effect. Some people will be drawn to you. They will admire your clarity, your confidence, your unwillingness to compromise yourself. Others, however, will feel uncomfortable because your refusal to seek approval exposes their dependence on it. They may label you as distant, difficult, or even arrogant. But these labels are not reflections of your behavior. They are reactions to your independence. And here is where many people make a critical mistake. They retreat. They sense the discomfort they create, and they rush to fix it. They soften themselves again. They try to regain approval. But in doing so, they erase the very quality that made them respected in the first place. Consistency is what builds perception. If you stand firm one day and fold the next, people do not see strength, they see uncertainty. And uncertainty invites testing. People will push your boundaries again, just to see where you truly stand. So the key is not to reject connection. It is to redefine it. You no longer seek to be liked by everyone. You choose to be respected by the right ones. And this requires a shift in how you view rejection. When someone dislikes you because you did not conform, that is not a loss. That is clarity. It reveals who values you for your authenticity and who only valued your compliance. And once you see that difference, your priorities change. You stop chasing approval from those who benefit from your weakness. You invest your energy in those who respect your strength, because real connection is not built on constant agreement. It is built on mutual recognition of boundaries. Now consider this. Why do people often admire those who are slightly unpredictable, slightly hard to read, slightly difficult to please? It is not because they enjoy difficulty. It is because difficulty implies standards, and standards imply value. When you are not easily impressed, not easily swayed, not easily controlled, people begin to perceive you differently. They become more careful in how they approach you, more attentive to what you say, more aware of how they behave around you, because they know your approval is not guaranteed. And what is not guaranteed becomes desirable. This is the paradox most people never understand. The less you chase approval, the more it comes to you. Not from everyone, but from those who recognize its worth. And in that shift, something else happens. The silent hatred you once felt begins to change. It does not disappear, but it transforms. It becomes mixed with something else. Something far more powerful. Respect.